About some of the benefits of automation. So I want to get a couple things out in the open to start. First, thank you for coming. I know your time's valuable, so I appreciate you being here. Second, congratulations. The first step in automation is actually having an open mind about automation. So you guys are there, and that's sometimes the hardest thing for people to get over. So congrats, you did it. Third, I know we have about 15-ish minutes. I'm going to take about 12 to talk to you about 3 key pain points that we hear from our customers. For the last couple minutes, we'll open it up to questions, and then Don's going to jump right into his presentation. Throughout our time together here, I asked you to keep one question in the front of your mind. Could automation make sense for me? Might not today, but could it in the future? If the answer to that question is ever yes, please come, stop by our booth, talk to us. We'd love to show you our product. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I won't justify it, but you got to see it in person while you're here. We're happy to answer any questions and help guide you down your path in automation. So, can anybody guess the most common pain we hear from our customers?
Setup time.
Setup time, that's one of them.
Skilled labor.
Skilled labor is one of them. Most common thing we hear is we need to increase our profits. That's the bottom line, right? Everybody's looking to increase their profits. There's a lot of things that go into that, right? Material costs are going up, overhead is increasing. There's one thing as a shop that you can actually control, and it's your labor costs. And hear me out, this will sound backwards for a second, but it'll all make sense at the end. So, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average hourly rate of a machine shop worker has nearly doubled in the last 20 years. An operator today is about twice as expensive as they were in 2004. So as we move forward, let's take a look at a margin breakdown from 2004. Say you charge $60 an hour for work. And this isn't science. You might charge $120, you might charge, I don't know. But say you charge $60. Your labor costs after your burden in 2004 is about $22 an hour. Say your depreciation is about $12, tooling costs $5. You're still making about $21 an hour in margin. It's great. You're paying your operator a fair wage, you're a fair market value, and you're still making over 33% margin. It's awesome. Let's take a look at what that same breakdown looks like today. Well, you have to stay competitive, right? Your customers don't want to pay more. So you have to stay competitive in order to keep that business. And again, not a science. Put your numbers in your head. We've already touched on the fact that labor's almost doubled. Tooling costs and depreciation, let's say they stay the same, you're still about $3 an hour to run that same job today. It's an 85% drop off in the last 20 years. You might be saying, yeah, well, we've been able to keep up, and that's great. Increase over time, awesome. Profitability might not be an issue for you, good. The second pain we hear could be labor. That was mentioned, I believe. Think of the most skilled CNC operator in your shop. Just take a second. Does anybody come to mind? Anyone? Yeah? Who comes to mind for you? What's his name?
What's his name?
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple people, but I'm not going to rattle off names.
No? Okay.
Just call him Fred.
Fred? All right. Sure. That's fine. How old is Fred?
Fred's going to be anywhere from 30 to 60.
30 to 60? Yeah. Right. The problem with that number is it's not going to get lower anytime soon.
It never will.
Right.
I mean, nobody learns anything on the first day.
Correct, yes.
So you don't become Fred when you're 20.
Absolutely. The problem is there's not as many Freds entering the workforce today as there were 20 years ago. College is... Sure. We can talk after. That's perfectly fine. I would love to. College has been pushed on to everybody the last 20 years, which is fine, but it causes that number to keep decreasing. There are actually more people retiring in the job force today than there are entering it. So it's fine for Fred today, but in 20 years, what does that look like? You might not have an issue. Maybe you do have younger skilled guys. Maybe you are making enough money. Great, you're in a great spot. There's one thing that you can't control on your end, and it's going to be your demand. So let's take a look at a supply chain here. Real brief overview. Say you want to buy a tractor, end customer, you go to a distributor. Distributor is going to go to a finished goods warehouse. Finished goods warehouse is going to go to an OEM. We'll go to a parts warehouse. Who comes to? The part manufacturer. Us, right? This is great. There's some fluctuation, but it's kind of evenly distributed throughout the supply chain, so it makes it somewhat predictable. This changed when Toyota introduced the just-in-time methodology. People started realizing that inventory is risky capital. Things go obsolete, you're left with parts on your shelf, that's money going to waste. Inventory is also dead capital, meaning you can't invest it in other aspects of your business. So people were tasked with reducing or even eliminating inventory, which does away with our supply chain warehouses. What does that do to demand? Well, your customer is still going to have the same expectations. They want the same price, same delivery. You'll see some fluctuation at the distribution level, some at your OEM level, but the most fluctuation is going to be seen at the part manufacturer. We call this the bullwhip effect. It amplifies throughout the supply chain. And this is why some months you can't get a part off the machine fast enough, and some you're trying to take on any work that you can. Let's take a look at what this looks like in a standard setup. Your CNC machine's on your floor, ready to rock 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Say you run a 2-shift operation, 16 hours a day, 240 days a year. Off the bat, you're utilizing your CNC to half its potential, sitting idle more than 50% of the time just to start. So what's this look like at the high end? Well, you have things like overtime, weekend labor, night labor, overinvestment. You might have to buy another machine to keep up with demand, to keep those jobs moving along. And stress, operator stress. Might miss a kid's event, have to miss a vacation, things like that. On the flip side, you're left with things like layoffs, unemployment uncertainty, and stress. Maybe those people who are able to keep their position aren't getting enough hours to do those things that they enjoy, right? So let's take a look at what automation can do to this scenario. Well, as you can see here, I've moved the lines and all your stress is gone. Thank you. I got one chuckle yesterday, so I figured I'd do it again. No, this gap is actually created through teamwork. It's teamwork between the robot and operator. So on your high end, when you're trying to get a part off the machine as quick as possible, operator can partner with the robot, eliminate that high-end stress. On the low end, the operator is able to stay busy. So here's our cost breakdown again from 2025. We at RoboJob did a study. We talked to some of our customers, and we tried to figure out what's actually going into this hour. Well, in talking to customers, we found that about 30% of an operator's time is spent on creative tasks, setting up jobs, testing parts, things like that. Where the other 70% is spent on repetitive tasks, having to stop setting up that next job to go load and unload the previous part. Our mission at RoboJob is to eliminate the repetitive tasks, freeing up an operator to spend more time on creative tasks, tasks that they can actually enjoy, right? You want to be loading heavy parts in and out of a machine all day. The goal of the robot is to do that for you so that you can focus on other aspects of your business. So, from 2005 to 2025, we saw an 85% decrease, right? Use your numbers. With RoboJob, that 30% is actually 100% now. They can spend all of their time on a creative task. So, instead of operating one machine, they can tend to 3 instead of 2, 6, whatever it is. You're able to drive your costs down and actually increase your profit. Very brief, very general, but this is what automation does. It can help increase your profitability. It can help bridge that skills gap. It can even help steady the fluctuations in demand. But what it's also going to do is set you up for more success in the future. So when your younger Freds are entering the job force, your shop's a little bit more attractive than the guy next door. So I asked you to keep a question in your head, right? Could automation make sense for me? Now I ask, might automation make sense for you? If so, please stop by our booth. We'd love to talk to you. Thank you.